Hey, Professor Randon, I will now talk about my enhanced gameplay along with added mechanics. So let's start out by making it clear that the board goes in a curvy path. So you will start here and then you will follow this path this way. So that is the path, so on and so forth, until all the way to square 100. So there are still 100 squares on my game board. So I've not changed that. So I will talk to you about the added mechanics first. So let's start with these three guys. 1, 2, 3. So these squares will focus on drawing cards. So obviously the point of the game is to avoid landing on square 100. So obviously players want to try to stay on the lower half of the board as much as possible. So these three squares have been placed in order to stop the players, or it might help them, might hurt them, depends on what happens. So for square 11, you land on this one and it will actually take you forward. So you draw a card from the deck, and depending on the number that you draw, it will move you forward. Unless you draw a joker. Draw a joker and it will actually take you back to square 1, which is a good thing. Square 50, you land on that one. It will depend on the color of the card you draw. So if you draw a black card, it has a black number, it will move you backwards. Draw a red card, it will move you forward, a bad thing. So the last square, square 90, this is obviously close to danger zone. You land on square 100 and you're out, so this is on square 90. So you land on this, and this will essentially give you another chance at life, hopefully. You land on it and it will take you backwards depending on the card you draw. Does not matter what color. So you draw a 9, it will move you back 9 spaces. The good thing about moving backwards is that you can again land on the card spot and essentially delay your demise. Go past it and you're pretty much go past square 90 and you're essentially on borrowed time to be eliminated. Let you draw joker on the square, it will actually take you immediately to square 100 for an instant loss. So that explains those three squares. So let's move on to the other squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They look like steroid injections. These are sacrificing squares. So in the midterm, I explained that obviously 2 players, I'll give a 2-player demonstration. If 2 players are playing, they will obviously make a prediction, roll the 2 dice, and then based on what the 2 dice add up to, they will subtract it from their prediction. So let's say you get a score of 2, and that score of 2 lands you on one of the sacrificing squares. So now you have the option. You can either move 2 forward or 2 back. That's your decision. But here comes the sacrificing part. Your opponent will get double that amount. So if you go 2 spaces forward, your opponent will go 4 spaces forward. You go 2 spaces back, your opponent will go 2 spaces back. So it's essentially, what is the best move to get my opponent eliminated? You may think that moving your player 4 spaces forward is a good thing, but you never know. Moving them 4 spaces forward might put them on a sacrificing square, which gives them the upper hand to make the next move. So it really depends on where your opponent is on the board, where you are, and it's now gonna essentially you're gonna have to think forward now. Will my move cause damage to me in the long run? So you really have to think ahead and see where your opponent will possibly land. So I will now pause and then collect myself for the next explanation.